Hey everybody, I'm Mike, she's Wendy. Welcome to the Marriage Shop. It's Monday.
Yep, and we're having beautiful weather here in Evans. I don't know about you, I saw in the news that there's supposed to be a cold front and some severe weather coming to the northeast. So if that's where you happen to be, we are just praying that you stay safe, that you stay warm, and that it doesn't get too terrible. So, but here is like, I don't know, spring?
Kind of feels like spring. We got flies, we got mosquitoes, we got caterpillars crawling around, ants busy. It is like spring has sprung.
Yeah.
Wasp in the garage.
You never know what you're going to get in Georgia. That's just the bottom line. One day it could be, winter with snow, and the next day it could be 80 degrees. So you just had to be prepared either way.
Yeah, move to Georgia. That's all I got to say. Did you know Evans, Georgia, #1 place to live in America? Money Magazine said so. So I'm just saying, you better come on down. Hurry up, though. The house is getting expensive.
Yes, so we are glad that you're joining us again tonight. Like we said, it's Monday. We're in Evans. It's the Marriage Shop. He's Mike. I'm Wendy. And we said we were wrapping up our series on making love nonstop. Sex and marriage. However,
bonus time.
There were some things that we had promised that we would talk about before we ended that series, and so we never got a chance to really talk about sexual dysfunction or sexual disorders, or what happens when maybe you want to but you can't.
Yeah, what happens when you want to but you can't? And I think part of the issue around this particular topic is actually what you just said. We talk about dysfunction and disorder. Well, what about when what is happening is exactly what should happen under the circumstances, right? And we'll talk about some of those things. But what about, when that's kind of a normal outcome or a normal result of what's going on with you? And so, but we called it all kinds of things, sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction. Who wants any of that? Not me. Thank you very much. I don't want to.
Yes. And depending on how old you are, old school, it would be impotence or frigidity or women problems. There are a number of things that we tend to call it, but we rarely talk about it. And just like the stigma that's attached to mental health disorders, there's certainly some people who are hesitant to talk about sexual problems. Yeah. And so we're going to talk about it. Yep.
And this is one of those things where, our viewers, if you will, are, we're talking from late teens all the way into, 70s, 80s.
Yes.
So it is a guarantee that this issue has touched on somebody that's looking at this right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I won't say it's a guarantee, but it's a high probability if you've not had this issue, it might come along.
Yeah, it might come along. Yeah. Right. And so it's one of those things, like a number of things in marriage, that it's good to know and maybe research a little bit, just that you have a working knowledge. It's not something that you really need to dive into or do some exhaustive learning around. But most people find themselves in that place when they have a problem. Maybe this hasn't affected you yet, but hopefully we'll just share some things that may be helpful whether you're experiencing these challenges or not.
And now feel free to chat amongst yourselves. As you see, we are in our armchair configuration tonight. The studio is dark, so we just kind of here chilling because this topic, this is an armchair type topic. So feel free to chat amongst yourselves. We'll get to you. But just to let you know, we can't immediately respond to you right now.
Right. And so I'll try to grab my phone. I'll try to see who's checking in. But we've asked you the last few times to make sure that you say hey to us, or tell us where you're from, or drop something in the comment section just so that we know that you're here, because we definitely want to let you know how much we appreciate you being here, and we don't want to miss an opportunity to give you a shout out. So we just, again, we're thankful, we're appreciative, we're grateful. All of those things really express how we feel about you. So thank you.
Yeah, and make sure as you share, there are all kind of people. We have people reuniting in the Marriage Shop, right? Like, hey, I haven't seen you in so long. Where you been? Blah, 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 right? So make sure, share this with anybody. Like it, share it, of course, with anybody you think might need it, or anybody you think that might just think it's interesting. Or maybe just share it with somebody who you might not normally share it with tonight. Just randomly pick somebody and share it. Of course, it may be like, well, why are you sending me this? Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, because you bring up a good point, right? Often the conversations that we're having with people of the same sex. So I might talk to my girlfriends or my sister or my mom about issues or challenges that I may be experiencing, but I may be less likely to talk to my husband about it. And so when you say just pick someone randomly, I think, or did you say random?
I think I might have said random.
Pick someone you think might need this. This is really like everything that we bring into the shop, a conversation starter. And what we would hope is that it's a conversation starter between you and your spouse.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, so speaking of conversations, we've been talking about sex like a lot, right? For weeks now, all these different aspects of it, what God's plan is for, how did, what it does for your relationship. Mm-hmm. Some of the problems that can come along, in your sex life, etc. But I think to not cover this one, that would be a mistake.
Yeah,
I think, right? Yeah. Because we don't want to try to avoid the things that are challenging, maybe a little bit awkward to talk about, because those are the very things that's why the Marriage Shop was created, actually. All right, not to just always kind of kick it and have fun, as you all have seen. There is fun, but marriage it's all of that, right? There's the challenges. There's the pleasure of it. There's struggles. There's all kind of, there's a joy. And so the idea is that we believe that God intended us to be married as we took our oath, right? Mm-hmm. Until death do us part. And between now and that day, a lot of times there's a lot of things that happen, right? And before that wedding day, actually, we're going to be back, by the way, talking to singles. It's kind of for all of y'all. But this one, I think the singles really are going to it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And so we'll be coming back probably in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have something exciting planned in the new year too. So I guess we'll just kind of tease that a little bit. We've been looking at our past videos. You can find those on this Facebook page at The Marriage Shop. Or I should say, at The Marriage Shop. On YouTube, The Marriage Shop, and on Instagram, Instagram TV, Instagram on our Instagram page, The Marriage Shop. And so we just drop in little snippets on Instagram, but if you want to see the whole videos, then you find them here on our Facebook page and on YouTube. And if you have people that that are just not on Facebook or not on social media, that YouTube page is a great place for them to be able to catch up on some of our past videos as well. So we look at our old videos, we looked at some of your comments, we've looked at suggestions, we've looked at recommendations, we've consulted some experts, so we're bringing some new things and maybe just kind of a fresh approach in the new year. So we definitely want you guys to hang in there with us and join us in January, because we're probably going to take some time off to celebrate the holiday, at least 1 week, I think. At least maybe 1 week, maybe.
Maybe 2.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, and I do want to ask you guys for your prayers. So, we had put out this request, I think it was sometime last year, around this time, actually. We were trying to put together a prayer team, and we invited you guys to join that prayer team. But we just ask that you continue to keep us in your prayers with everything that we're trying to do within and around marriage, but also specifically to pray for Mike. He's having surgery next week, and we just want your prayers that it'll go well, that he will be up and about with no problems after that surgery, and that you have a quick recovery.
Yeah, I'm believing that. It's a little procedure. No worries.
When people say a little procedure, people always think like vasectomy.
It's a knee done. It's a knee surgery. And so, but it's not a. I tried to choose the the one that would be the least invasive and gave me the fastest recovery time. So hopefully it's effective. So yeah, but it'll be fine. It'll be good. I was gonna try to do it. We would try to do it like from the hospital or whatever. Wendy was like, "Nah,
yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Nah." So whatever.
So we're gonna miss you guys next week. Just wanted to let you know that right now. But then hopefully we'll be back that next week, which will be a few days after Christmas. And so sometimes the holidays tend to give us a little bit of a lull, but just know that we will be here. And we hope that you'll join us too.
Wait a minute. I mean, I was gonna try to do the whole hospital thing, but the week after Christmas, I don't know about that one.
You don't know about that one? Okay, so it might be that next one.
Yeah. Do we have another one in 20?
Nope.
20? That'll be okay. Fine. Week after Christmas.
Well, Christmas is on a Friday, so that gives you Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday. So the 28th, right? Okay. So anyway, as we digress.
All right.
So tonight in the Marriage Shop, we're talking about. As we said, if you're just joining us for the first time or you just turned us on, we're Mike and Wendy. We're in the Marriage Shop, and we are talking about what happens when, what we said was what happens when you want to have sex, but you can't. But there's also maybe what happens when you don't want to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Obviously, we've been talking about sex all this time because it's a really important component of marriage. And it also emerges as one of the pain points, actually, one of the areas where people begin to experience issues over time. And if you think about it, if you're married for an extended period, together you're going to go through all these phases of life. And things are just not the same, toward the end, if you will, as they were in the beginning. And everywhere in between, like things can change from literally day to day. Certainly they change year to year. And so, big deal, important thing. But there are certain things that typically will hit along the way that people need to account for. There's some like biggies, some common things that occur that begin to impact your ability to do sex the way that you want to do sex.
To do sex.
Do sex. Yeah, it's like have it. Is it something that you have?
And make it.
Or is it something that you make?
Let's make sex.
Or is it something that you do? Maybe it's all of the experience. Yes, there you go. Right. But there's things that can't interfere with your ability to have that sexual experience that you're looking for.
Yes.
Maybe the experience that you're used to, which can actually be a bit of an issue, right? Like wanting what you're used to, because maybe something changed. I don't know, but that's why we're talking about this. And so I say we just go ahead and get into a few of the big areas that tend to hit.
Okay.
Because we need to do what we call normalize this for you, so hey, you're not the only one, and you're not. Trust. All right. So first one, medication.
Medications. So medications absolutely can have an impact and influence your sex drive, your sexual function, and how you experience sex overall. Certain medications, and so the broad groups of medications that have a direct impact or possibly are antihypertensives. I'm like,
AKA, she's a nurse, y'all. Blood pressure medication.
Okay, thank you for translation. Antidepressives, AKA
antidepressants.
If you're on cholesterol medication, is that better? I'm speaking English. So blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, some pain medications, so opioids specifically, but some pain medications, and actually some stimulants can also have an impact on your overall sex drive and sex function.
Stimulants, antihistamines. Actually stimulate your there's a system, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but antihistamines actually fit into that category.
Yes.
So that cold medication you taking, that allergy med you're taking, potentially that's an issue, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of times when there's some type of a sexual problem, as we see it, all of a sudden you start either like questioning yourself or judging somebody. Why is that?
Yeah, well, it's because we have in our minds an idea of what we should be able to do, and we often overlook obvious causes, and sometimes we overlook obvious causes like medication because we didn't read, as you said, we didn't read the little sheet that came with the medication. We may ask questions like, what are the primary side effects or the main side effects of the medication?
See, wait a minute. So you side effects. Put a mark on that. I got to rewind her a little bit. You need to tell that to them again, because nobody out there is reading. Tell them again.
Okay.
I know y'all not reading.
So what we happen to know is that generally as you age, you will be on medication for one reason or another. And the older we get with the aging process, generally more medications, right? And so when you pick up your medications from a pharmacy, and even some over-the-counter medications, I really encourage you to read the instruction sheet that comes with them. The over-the-counter medications have little sheets in there. You need magnifying glasses to read them, but they have instruction sheets and information, helpful and important information. Read those sheets. Take the time. Don't just look at whether or not this medication works with that medication, but also look at all of the potential side effects, and not just the big ones that are usually bold, but the little tiny ones, because as you go down that list, even though it may decrease in how prevalent that particular symptom or side effect may be, it doesn't mean that it won't impact you. So what often happens is we take the medication, we know that it's supposed to work on our blood pressure or lower our cholesterol or whatever, or also anything that works on the neurological system. But it may do those things, but we often don't ask that second question, right? Or how will this impact my ability to have sex? I don't know. I don't know if you're comfortable asking that question of your doctor when you get prescribed something, but generally it's not the first question that comes to mind.
And listen, comfortable, but you better get comfortable. It's the doctor, right? But it is important. There is no shame as it pertains to your medications. And a lot of times people start taking meds and don't even think about the idea that it may be impact, because it just makes no sense to you, right? It's like, well, this is supposed to do this one thing. Why would it impact my ability to have sex? And so we got to stop, because we make, men, like we make sex about our manhood. If I can't have it, can't do it, there's something wrong with me. Right? And so.
Yeah, but women will do the same thing. If he can't do it, then there's something wrong with me. And so, it's an interesting thing that happens when there's a challenge with sexual function.
Yeah. And so if you begin to have these challenges, and Wendy mentioned as we age, and we're going to talk about a few things, because it really, stuff like this can hit along the way anytime, right? There's some things that tend to be more prominent in certain populations. And we'll talk about the next one. I think that really hits on everybody. But, if you begin to have some issues or whatever, just, as you begin to unpack, think about, okay, what's changed?
Yeah.
And when did it change? But always, if you think that there's something related to meds, or if you read that sheet and you don't see sexual performance issues or whatever as a thing, doesn't matter. Call your doctor anyway and have a conversation about it, because there are a lot of things that emerge very quickly. Things change very quickly, and everything is not necessarily always in print. Sometimes there's emerging research on things. So
yes. And it's case by case. Yep. And you may have been on a medication for a long period of time, but the dosage may change, or the frequency of taking the medication may change, and those things can, in and of themselves, change how your body responds to it.
Absolutely. Or your age may change.
Oh, yeah.
And your body responds very differently to medications as you age, right? So, listen, all I'm saying is, don't even start tripping until you read the sheet. Like, all of it. I know you're going to get tired. I know. Read it all. All right.
Yes, and if the sheet doesn't have the information, we all are used to Googling to get more information. Go to Google. Yeah. But beyond that, talk to your provider about it.
Go to Google, WebMD, and things like that, right? Yeah. Don't be, RX list, RX something. There's a prescription thing that breaks down all the meds. Don't go to Facebook, though. And don't talk to your friends.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway.
Yes.
No.
So medication, that's a big one. We can't talk about that enough, but we're done talking about medication.
Right.
If you have some specific questions related to that, drop them in the comments and Google and talk to your providers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So what else can impact sexual function?
We got to talk about stress.
Okay. Let's talk about stress.
I mean, so stress can impact because the act of sex, even though it's active, right? The activity itself is a very active activity. That's a lot of actives, but
it's a physical activity.
It is physical, right? Yeah. But it's not, and so we think, and it can be very exciting, and so it can be very intense even. But in order to get there, it requires actually a good state of clarity and relaxation to get, to have the full experience, I would say. Yes.
I mean, and I think that's true for men as well as women. Mm-hmm. So you heard, I mean, if you ask...
That's like for everybody.
Yeah. But here's what we want you to do. We want you to have a conversation with your partner, with your spouse, about how these things impact them. That's what's most important about what we're sharing with you. Mm-hmm. While these are broad things that could impact everybody, we want you to have a conversation about your personal experiences and talk to each other about how it impacts you. So stress affects different people in different ways.
Yep. And so I think the first thing you need to do is to pay attention, right? When you feel like it, when you don't, and what's happening around you. And not only just feel like it, because there's a difference between, I don't feel like it, but okay, girl, come on. There's a difference between that and just can't.
Yeah, I mean, and that's essentially what we're talking about tonight. So it's not the occasional, I'm just not up to it. This is the, I desire you, I want to, but I can't. Physically, I'm just not in that place, which ties into, of course, mentally, I may not be in that place, but we're talking about physical things when you're not physically able to engage in sex.
Right. And the don't want to piece kind of comes into play when typically maybe you have that desire, that motivation, whatever, and it's just like the farthest thing from your mind now. For some people, that's different.
Yeah.
All right. It's like, wait a minute, whoa. So you've been sweating me for the last 5 years and now you just nothing?
Yeah.
Right.
And there may not be an explanation. So it's like, something has changed. And so this is how it might play out, right? I noticed that you're not sweating me like you normally sweat me, or whether that was 5 years ago or 3 days ago, something has changed. So what is it? And so if I then come with, kind of an accusation, right? How I come at it and enter the conversation really matters when we start talking about this, because you may not always have an answer as to why. You may not even notice.
Yeah, that's true. And so it's a great point. It's so important to kind of come at this thing, because a lot of people, what happens, one or two things going to happen. Somebody's going to say, what's wrong? And you'll say, nothing, and it's like, well, and I'm thinking, well, something must be wrong, because it should be going down, and it's not, right? And so then your spouse says nothing. So then maybe you begin to fill in the blanks, like, well, normally this is not normal. So why is it not normal? Is there somebody else? What's going on? What you doing, right? And so that can be a problem. So it's important, if there is something going on, or just, to begin to just talk that thing through. Yeah,
and that's kind of what we talked about a couple of weeks ago in this series too, right? Really kind of identifying when there may be some underlying conflict or some other issue that needs to be addressed. Often sexual issues or sexual dysfunction has nothing to do with sex at all. It's an emotional issue, emotional issue, or a different problem. It could be related to conflict or unresolved conflict that you have, something that you haven't talked about yet. So that may be the underlying thing. So I don't want to just jump into, well, since physical isn't happening, it's a physical issue. Not always the case. Yeah.
We actually go chasing after solutions that have nothing to do with the problem whatsoever. And so I think that is an important point because, but you got to talk. That's the bottom line. You have to, if there's something going on, even if you think it's a small thing, it's important to share that. People tend to fill in the blanks. When there's no information, we fill in the blanks with the worst stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, what? You're with somebody else and you're going to leave me and your bags are packed? All that from the last 5 minutes. It's like, no. Listen, but people do tend to kind of fill it in. When you don't give them anything, they never fill it in with the things that are probably going on. That are the most necessarily logical or positive things. It's always tends to be something that's a bit more negative.
Yeah. And one thing that we recognize is, I mean, Mike and I do a lot of talking. We talk a lot to each other. We talk a lot to other people. But it is also true that there are some things, and there were periods of time in our marriage where we weren't always talking to each other as much. And there have been times where one of us may have had an issue that we didn't just readily say, hey, let's talk about this. So we recognize that when we say, hey, talk about it, sit down, get into these conversations, that's not always an easy thing to do, but it certainly is a helpful habit to create. If you can build yourselves to a place where you are able to talk about anything, and maybe not everything, but talk about anything, then that will certainly make your communication stronger, but it will also make your marriage stronger. What specifically comes to mind was when I had a health issue and I didn't really talk to you about it. And it was like, well, that just doesn't make any sense, because we really could talk about anything, and I'm pretty open about whatever is going on with me. But in this particular case, it was just something that initially I didn't think it was that important, but it really was bothering me. And it would have benefited both of us if I could have just at the beginning said, hey, this is something that's going on. I'm not really sure what it is, and kind of express that. And so we recognize that it takes time to kind of build that level of comfort. I mean, and maybe for some of you, you've been wide open since day one. And whatever it is, you just come out with it. I mean, but I am proud to say that we have kind of worked ourselves to a place where we could talk about poop, hemorrhoids.
Yes, we can. Like right now. If it
Nausea.
Needs to be.
Whatever it is.
Which I appreciate though, because and sometimes you just want to do it. Right? Sometimes you just ready, and it's like, oh man, now I know this is gonna be at least a half day, if not a full day one right here. This particular issue, this might be all week, but you have to keep the door open for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard. So nobody said it's gonna be easy all the time, but nobody said it had to be horrible either. Yeah. A lot of us act like, oh man, it's just gonna be bad, I gotta get through it. No, marriage can be like amazing. And every day is not gonna be like, yeah, but it could be. The only reason it's not is because we can't like forgive each other quickly. That's really the only reason why it's not like, whoa, every day. But that's a whole nother topic. We'll get to that. But let's just know that stress can impact you. And by the way, fellas, and this happens with women as well. I'm talking to the fellas because I'm a guy. I'm a man, grown man. Anyway, if you have an issue, and sometimes you stuff just ain't working. There's no explanation what is going on. Right?
You say stuff is not working.
Just ain't working. Should I speak more candidly?
Yep.
Okay, sometimes you just can't get it up. Sometimes, I'm talking about erection. I'm just
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like maybe it just won't work, or maybe you just like doing your thing like you always do, and it's just like do. I think I'll go to sleep now. And it's like, well, what are you doing? Right? It's like, what are you doing? And so sometimes it's just like literally no explanation. Sometimes there is, and sometimes things may be impacting you more so than maybe you appreciate. But whatever the case, the most anxiety-provoking time is the next time. Because we get performance anxiety, right? It's like, okay, I don't know what happened. And not knowing what happened is the absolute worst, because then you begin to get in your head. Get out of your head, because in your head is the absolute worst place to be if you're trying to have that experience you're trying to have.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, there's no explanation. Mm-hmm. And so what I encourage people to do is just give each other a break.
Yeah.
Just have some compassion and, yeah. Do you have something to say on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to be careful. I said, be careful about how you enter into a conversation about it, right? When something happens, either while you're having sex or before you have, whatever, if your husband is not able to obtain an erection or maintain an erection, you both know. I mean, it's not a secret, so you don't need to then go into interrogation mode. So I'm talking to the ladies now. It is important that you're very careful about how you handle your husband in those situations, especially if he doesn't know and can't articulate what's going on. It can be that in and of itself can add stress to a stressful situation. And so if you then start to question, what's the problem? And, you go down that long laundry list of all other possibilities, it is not helpful to then start to accuse him of other things. So you don't want me, or is it something about me? So we make it about us. That's a possibility. Or is it because you've already done something on your own or with somebody else? That's something else. What? Yeah, I mean, because that comes up too. Yep. And so then it's like, okay, well, if it's not me and you're not cheating, then what's wrong with you? Well, just be careful. And I'll just say, go back to that hashtag being love. Choose your words carefully and consider that all of your actions should be done in love. So yes, it is a sensitive thing and it's a sensitive time. So right when it happens, or if it happens, may not necessarily be the time to go in with all of the questions. But if it's something that you can talk about, and he's willing to talk about it, then talk about it.
And bro, listen, be willing to talk about it.
Yeah. Because
just as I said, the absence of information doesn't help. It only makes things actually worse for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so even if you don't know, it's fine to not know. Say it out loud. I mean, I have no idea. And so, we need to stop being embarrassed about things that just happen, right? And just be able to talk about things. And I know, stop being embarrassed. It's easier said than done. Yeah. But you're talking about your wife. You're talking about your husband. This is the person you're spending the rest of your life with. This is the person who knows more about you, in theory, than anybody else on the planet. And if you're going to know about each other, you might as well know every single thing about each other as things go along, because things will sometimes change, and that's okay, right? Yeah. And sometimes it's just a blip, no explanation. Get back on your horse and ride. I mean, that's a poor figure of speech. Anyway,
it's out there now.
But.
I mean, and I think I'm glad that you brought up that point, though, because you can also get in your head about knocking it out the park the next time. And so it may not be that you get into this mental game of the anxiety about not being able to perform the next time. You could get into a mental game of trying to overdo it and trying to make sure that you are not only proving to yourself, but proving to your wife that, you are the man. Mm-hmm. That can also add stress, and it can also add insult.
Yeah. So don't listen. No need, right? You're proving all you need to prove. Pat yourself on the back. It's good, right?
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of times there can be when one of you is having a problem, then that can create perhaps a little bit of distance. And by the way, sometimes health issues there are some people who haven't had sex in years. Yeah. It is important to love whatever it is you get. Now, some of you may scoff at that, like, whatever. No, I'm serious. Whether that's a hug and time together, whatever it is, love what you get. And love your husband, love your wife, right? Wherever they are. Because if they're moving through something, it'll help so much more to help them move through that. If you just love them where they are, how they are.
Yeah, that is so important. That's good. Because I think when we were talking about it before and somebody brought up menopause, And I meant to say this because Mike's grandfather was full of such wisdom, but he was a straight shooter for sure. And he really had a conversation with us about menopause way before either one of us was even thinking about
unsolicited
menopause.
conversation about menopause.
He just came out with it. But his point was this, and I remembered it, that basically if you can survive it, then you're good for the rest of your life. I mean, that's what he said. If you can love her through menopause, it was wisdom and guidance to men. If you can love her through that, then it will be good for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people that at this point find themselves at odds. And so we talk about different things as we age, and, you know, whether it's hormones or illness or whatever else, there's some things that are critical times, you know, whether it's a man that's going through erectile dysfunction or a woman that is postpartum or going through menopause. Those are temporary states. And I think that we have to allow a little space and grace as it relates to that too. If you're able to love and appreciate what you get, whatever it is, through that time, then you're able to be stronger, and it fortifies your relationship and it strengthens your relationship so that for the rest of your life, it makes it so much better. Yeah. Understanding and allowing for the things that are going to happen. Yes, you're going to be irritable. Yes, you're going to be hot. Yes, sometimes you want to be touched. Yes, sometimes you don't. I mean, all of those things might be true. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. Sometimes it's not at all. I mean, all of that is true as it relates to sex and marriage. You laugh? What? Because I just going.
No, nothing. So anyway.
What, up, down, not at all?
So when you were talking, one thing came to mind though, and it is this: if your husband, if your wife is loving you through whatever it is going on, don't screw it up by getting in your own head and judging yourself and, you know, and putting undue pressure on yourself and being angry and frustrated.
Yeah, that's good, because so for example, if it was an issue of erectile dysfunction, right, and I'm recognizing that you're already struggling, you're having an issue with it, and then I say, hey, you know what, it's fine, I understand that it is important that then you don't come back at me like, don't patronize me.
Exactly. No, that's not fine. You're like,
right. Don't try to make me feel good.
Exactly. Listen, no, just take that and say, you know, and appreciate it, because we get angry at ourselves. I said earlier, right? Human beings, man, things happen. Yeah. We get angry at ourselves, and then we just want to be mad. Look, if it requires a complete redefinition of what we consider to be, you know, my manhood, your womanhood, this, that, and all. Listen, hey, sometimes you just have those days. And if you've married somebody who's willing to ride that with you, then you need to hug them and embrace them and appreciate them for it. And try to have a better day tomorrow. We'll talk about a couple of ways to have better days.
Yeah.
But
because over time, I mean, it's up and down, but you know, this year might be my turn, and next year it might be yours.
That's how it happens, though, ain't it?
That's how it happens.
It's over the course of time. So, but yes, a lot of times somebody will be dissatisfied to some extent. So then people will often seek escape routes. That's number 3. So we talked about medication.
Yes.
We talked about stress.
And kind of illness.
Uh-huh. Third thing, escape routes. So, and people can try to escape in almost any circumstance. It almost doesn't matter if your partner's having an issue. A lot of times people try to escape, and they escape in some common ways that you all be familiar with.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think what we're talking about for the most part is not, well, I don't know if we're talking about adultery or not, but in your mind first.
Yeah, because it could be that.
Yeah.
We weren't necessarily, but it could be that.
Yeah, but in your mind, finding a way to escape your reality by choosing other ways, right? So for men, commonly the first thing that comes to mind is pornography, but that could be for women too. But if you read anything in the literature, it says for men it's most common to escape through pornography, right? Or fantasizing about sexual partners and sexual encounters. And for women, it could also be pornography, but it could also be romance novels. It could be the Lifetime channel, not related to Lifetime, the song by Mike and Wendy featuring JC, but Lifetime movies, Lifetime channel, escaping into these alternate realities that you form in your minds about, well, if I fantasize about this, then in this is how it could happen. And so that could happen here.
Well, let me just, because somebody might be thinking right now, oh no, the Lifetime channel too? No. let's be 50 Shades.
Yeah. Wow.
Or those novels that I see sitting around, and I can't remember a title, but it was kind of this typical novel, right? Somebody, it'll be like a image of maybe a woman or
the Harlequin romance.
Yeah, whatever.
Fabio on the cover.
All that, right? So escaping off into a good book that has all, a lot of content that takes you to another place, erotically to another place.
Yeah.
Right? Pornography that takes you erotically to another place.
Yeah.
That is not your place. Right? That can become a real problem.
Yes.
Right? Because a lot of times that will actually, once you begin to get your fix, and we talk about this sometimes, we don't deal with it a whole lot on a marriage shop, and maybe we should. But if you tend to get your fix from something that has been created in order to generate that type of response, and that becomes the habit, well, that becomes a real issue now, because what you've done is taken the artificial and you've replaced the real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so, but your body, your brain, what does it do? Eat strawberry, right? Oh, that's delicious. And then go and eat a handful of jelly beans. And then come back and eat that strawberry.
Yeah.
Right. Second time around, that strawberry will not taste the same, because you've taken something that has concentrated unnaturally all that sugar and sweetness, right? And it has dulled your taste buds. Well, that's kind of sort of what happens when you begin to escape your habit.
Yeah.
It dulls your taste buds, right? Your desire, your motivation for your partner, which can kill your performance.
And we did talk
your
about
experience.
That. Yeah, we did talk about that when we talked about pornography. But that video got deleted. It was a mistake.
Oh, I was gonna say
it got deleted. Yeah, so we don't have it, and we can't tell you to go back and look at it. It's just gone. But when we talked about it, you kind of brought out that point then, and I think it's a really good point to make, because not only do we then expect our partners to measure up to this ideal that's not real, it has us in this perpetual state of not being able to be satisfied with what we have, and I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And don't escape to some people. I don't get it. Video ain't your issue. Books not your issue. Maybe it's another person who's talking that talk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just real. And so,
and we talked about that when we talked about affairs, emotional affairs or physical affairs. Also, these are things that can be distractions, but they can also be destructive. Yeah. And so be very careful about that. Again, the first place that we want you to turn when there's an issue, or if there's an issue, or if there are questions, is to your spouse. Turn in before you turn out.
Yeah. And guard your eyes and guard your heart.
Yes.
Right.
And your thoughts.
And your thoughts. Watch who you allow to speak into your life, because they can get into your heart. We talked about this before. You can actually begin to love virtually anyone.
Yeah.
And so don't put yourself in a position, particularly, in a vulnerable position, to be spoken to or to take things in that are going to begin to turn your heart away from your husband or your wife.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So we've talked about a couple things. So if you're just joining us, we're Mike and Wendy. We're still in the marriage shop. We just flipped it around. So don't be confused. it's still us. But we talked about tonight things that can impact sexual performance or sexual function. So medications, stress, and now escape habits is what we were describing most recently. So were we going to talk about ways to, or things that you can do? I mean, we kind of been dropping those in along the way, but
let's kind of just collect them all up together, and then we have one more we have put out there. But with regard to medications, if you have any kind of medical conditions, or you're taking prescription meds, or even some over-the-counter stuff, speak to a medical professional. Stop trying to figure it out on your own. You don't have to, right? So go back to wherever you got those medications, or to whoever prescribed them, and have a conversation about what's going on with you, because it is all but a guarantee that they've seen it before and probably have some answers. Generally speaking, there are all kinds of alternatives and off-label uses for medications. So there are probably other options that are going to help you, right? And like Wendy said, every individual responds to medications in very different ways.
Yes.
Right. And so that's why there's all those options. Okay. So
which is why if you ask your buddy if they're having the problems that you're having on the same medication and they say no,
nothing to do with you.
It has nothing to do with you. So good point.
Absolutely. If you're stressed, figure out why you're stressed. But even before you figure it out, talk to your spouse about it.
Yeah.
About how you feeling, what's going on, what types of things are worrying you, concerning you, keeping you up at night or whatever. Talk about it. And heck, if you're not having sex yet, might as well talk anyway, right? So you might as well have a conversation. What is that? Wow. Okay, am I wrong for that?
Yeah, no.
You might as well have a conversation though, for real. I mean, don't kind of compound things and just stack on top of the stress.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay. Then maybe together you all can figure out what's going on. You know what I mean? It's 2020. There's all kind of things to be stressed about in 2020.
Yeah.
And even if in 2020 had been a normal year, guess what? There'd be all kind of things to be stressed about. That's okay.
Yeah.
And so just be willing to open up and chat a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Or a lot.
And along with that, I don't think we talked about this earlier because we kind of talked about illnesses a little bit, but this is related to the stress and medication. To stress, medications, and depression. We kind of mentioned antidepressants, but we didn't really talk about that. And if for some reason you are battling or dealing with depression, the depression itself can be an issue and a stressor, but also the medications to treat the depression can also impact sexual function. So that one in particular stands out, specifically as it relates to postpartum. So we talked about different things that happen along the continuum, and if you had a baby and then you're now dealing with all of the physical things that come with post having a baby, especially if you had a vaginal delivery, it's a different recovery than if you had a C-section. And so how your body responds and the fluctuation in your hormones all impact and influence your sex drive. But if you're dealing with postpartum depression, you absolutely want to see and seek out professional help as soon as you can, because that becomes not just something that impacts you and impacts your spouse, but impacts everyone. So just had to put that little disclaimer and commercial in there. So important.
That was like a lot of new information. Dang.
I know. I mean, it wasn't new. I mean, it was just we talked about it, but it.
No, you're fine. You're good. And so since we there though, but most common category of psychological mental health disorders are, anxiety. Right. So, So the likelihood of somebody watching this, there's some anxiety going on, right? Yeah. In some way, shape, or form, it can affect your sex life. So. Got to talk about things, right? Got to get things, have to seek assistance when you need it. And so there's medication thing, there's stress thing. No shame, y'all. Stop being ashamed and go talk about this stuff. Last thing is kind of your escape habits, right? Those escape routes that you take. Figure out what it is you're running from. And if there's an issue, you have to continue to run toward each other. Sometimes it's not comfortable. You don't want to talk about whatever that thing is. You don't want to deal with it. You got to deal with it together. That's like the only way. The only way out is through. That's it. Right? And so because the escape, you can find comfort in that doesn't resolve whatever you got going on. So you will begin to do what human beings do, right? We seek the comfort because it's the easy thing, but it also is the thing that's wrecking your marriage.
Wow.
So you decide. Now, on a positive note, one other thing we didn't mention.
It's kind of like a hard left.
Well, two other things, right? So before you go for the little blue pill or any of those male enhancers or performance enhancing type things, deal with everything we talked about, right? Because don't try to address just a physical symptom when there's all kind of other things going on.
Yes.
But if you've kind of done all and it's like, no, really, I'm good. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, go for it, right? But also there's natural performance enhancers as well. There are.
So,
I was just gonna deal with one. You said there are. I thought you. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you just give them the one and let's get on out of here.
What's the one?
Exercise.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yes, exercise.
I'm sorry. You were gonna. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
No, so
those other ones are kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, again, you could read. Some of you may know some if you want to drop them in there in the comments. Again, we're not going to ask you to put a little disclaimer that says I'm not a health professional. You may be a health professional. So, but there are. But
if you're not a health professional, don't be putting no craziness in the chat. Okay.
Just consider the source of your information, and even though we say you can trust us, we want you to fact check us as well. Yes. We share a lot of information. Some of it is based on our knowledge, background, and expertise. Some of it is opinion, and we would always encourage you to research and fact check everything that you consume. So a couple of other natural aphrodisiacs or things that are supposed to enhance sexual performance fall in line with, and so it's not oysters, although oysters are known to be a natural aphrodisiac.
Known to be?
They are known to be. Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah.
Ginseng
is another one that's supposed to increase your ability and sexual performance. Ginseng, oysters, there are certain herbal teas that are supposed to also help. But again,
are those? I want to be clear though. Are those like empirically validated research type things, or are these just things people say, or
exactly.
It's kind of is there kind of a question out there? That's what I want to be clear on.
Yeah, right. So empirically researched, generally not, right? Not FDA approved, and not necessarily something that always works 100% of the time. So that's why I would encourage you to just kind of research on your own. But those are some of those things that are put out there. But exercise is a surefire way to not only increase your physical performance, but to increase your overall health, your heart health, and your circulation. A lot of what is required for good, healthy sexual function is great circulation. That's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, exercise, because the rest of that stuff is just like, I don't know. Like the dude next door back in the day at home, he used to. Anyway, all kind of concoctions is like, and you Google, it's like, does that really? I don't know, right? But I think the results from a lot of stuff is as varied as the people who try them.
Yes.
Exercise is pretty solidly known to do a lot of things, right? Improve your sleep, improve your sexual functioning, improve your mood.
Yes.
Exercise. If everybody's been looking for the magic pill, the secret potion, stress relief, exercise is it. And plus, you're stronger, and it's. What?
And it doesn't take a whole lot. It could be a walk around the block. You don't have to hit the gym and lift really, really heavy weights or do anything that is really exhaustive and dramatic. But increasing your physical activity is highly recommended.
Consistency is the key, y'all. Ultimately, consistency is the key. So, unless you just want to go in there and throw up 1,000 pounds, it's on. Get to the house. Anyway, all right, we gotta go. We are. We are way beyond where we need to be.
Okay.
So we're going to get on out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we didn't talk about, and I encourage you to look at, are the different types. We just kind of went to physical sexual dysfunction for the most part. But when you...
Yeah, go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that there are 4 different phases of sexual performance. And so dysfunction can occur at any one of those phases. So it's everything from, and I probably should just have this in front of me so I can say this is what it is.
Well, I think, I'll tell you what.
You don't want to talk about that?
I don't.
Okay,
because
so we don't have to talk about it.
Because I don't want to make it too,
clinical.
Too clinical. I don't want people, if you're having an issue.
Yes.
So just talk to somebody about the issue or talk to each other about the issue. That's really kind of where that's good. So I won't go into the 4 phases or any of that, but we do have a book that I highly recommend, and hopefully you can see this with this book, and we'll drop it in there. And I think I might have shared this one before when we were talking about some other topics. I think it was a couple of videos ago, but the title of the book is Intimate Issues, 21 Questions Christian Women Ask About Sex. And that is by Linda Dillow and Lorraine Pentis. Highly recommend this book. It addresses a lot of the topics that we've talked about, and also gives you scriptural foundation where you can find in the Bible that it talks about sex in particular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's some good content in there. So, I think that's it. Whew, am I exhausted? But we appreciate you all so much. Again, if you think somebody can use this, please share it. Because that's just what we want to do. Just kind of share it with as many people as possible who might benefit, who might get some help, some hope. Because ultimately, it's about a lifetime together in your marriage.
Yes, that's good. All right, so you can pray that.
Yeah, I think I shall pray. You got anything to put out there before we go?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't have it, but you can check on our page. You can get those Marriage Shop mugs, and for a short period of time, if you buy 2 of them, then the shipping is free. Because we know that USPS costs has a high price for shipping costs. But if you buy 2, shipping is free, and that is good through the month of December. So we hope that you guys will grab yourself some mugs so you can just drink out of your Marriage Shop mugs when you're sitting here on Monday nights with us.
Yeah, and don't come up with your Amazon Prime expectations, all right? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just come to you just thanking you for being God. Thanking you for who you are. Yes, thank you for all who are watching and listening. We ask that you bless them in every way, bless their marriages. We ask that you help them to overcome any issues, any problems, any challenges that they're having. And just help us all to understand that you are the way through any problem that we may have, through any challenge, God. You're always there. And we thank you for that, God. We ask that you bless each marriage, bless each home. Help us all to be a shining example of what marriage is and what marriage can be. So we thank you for that tonight. We love you, and we pray these and other blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
All right.
See y'all in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, so I forgot the last time too. So the mugs are $10 each. If you buy 2 through the end of December, shipping is free, and we only have 20 left.
They are going like hotcakes. You may not. I don't think you have until the end of December. Hurry up. All right. Anyway.
We'll see you guys after Christmas.
After Christmas.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood. Love. Yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy. Yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Over the feeling, yeah. I know I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime, I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Whoa. Promise I'ma be around, I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe, yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you, yeah. And I know they see you, girl, you're my queen, and beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. But I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood. Ooh, lifetime, for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah. For a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah. For a lifetime, oh, for a lifetime.